Hello everyone, I hope you're keeping well and welcome back to the channel. I know that I don't make videos for this channel very often. That's mainly because I'm busy with other things during the week, but I do try to make these videos, especially Sunday mornings is the perfect time. I apologize there's no tripod today, but I'm going to get around it by keeping the camera static on certain flat surfaces around the church which I'm visiting today. So I've got no set kind of notes in front of me. It's going to be a general but not too general video. I just think it's good for everybody to have a bit of a reminder, a bit of a refresher if you like. Ultimately at the end of the day, I'm going to be walking around a bit, so if it's a bit shaky I do apologise. At the end of the day, look, we're all so busy, with modern day life, with work, making money, trying to keep relationships going, trying to find relationships. Careers is a big one, isn't it? We're all trying to get rich quick and get the next promotion, etc., etc. But, these things can be draining. They can zap our time. And look, it's a lovely church, this, isn't it? Ultimately, what I'm trying to say to you is, don't get so busy that you lose your time, because, time's flying. The summer's already flying by. It's like the end of May, more or less. And, you never know how much time you have got. We live in a secular world. A lot of people do not believe in kind of anything spiritual, or certainly not anything too spiritual. I'll just set the camera down there. And, there is a spiritual existence, and, I'm trying to be as kind of fair, balanced, and, mature in my comments as I can be. Now, if you take the world's three biggest religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, potentially, Catholicism, I haven't exactly looked it up. Everyone would agree, certainly those believers of those religions, that there's, divine God, that sin exists, and that a spiritual world exists. And, I just want to encourage you really to, spend some time each week, spend 10 minutes, a night or half an hour or whatever it might be, just, reading through the holy book, the holy word, spending a bit of time in prayer. Somebody commented to me this week, independently of any of these YouTube channels, that everyone's trying to get rich quick, and but money doesn't bring happiness. And that's absolutely true, because if you haven't got your happiness, if you haven't got your health, then no matter how much money you have or have made or have won, it's not going to cross all bridges. It's not going to solve a problem, or your problem, let's say. So, do spend some time, just trying to seek out God. The video isn't targeted at anyone specifically. When I publish these videos, I put them out there very broadly. So I don't want anyone to think that, I'm trying to, target a particular group or whatever, because that's not the case. They literally go out broadly, internationally, and, that's how it is. Look, this is a lovely church. Let me show you around this church a little bit. It's very old. There's nobody in here. That's often the case with a lot of these churches. It's like the modern day life of social media and fame and stardom. Sadly, a lot of people haven't got time for this, which is potentially, I believe it's a strategic mistake, because, everyone passes away from this life at some point, sooner or later. And, if you can be aligned, I like that word, aligned with God, and well-grounded in spiritual things and humility, and kind of steer clear of all known sins, if that's a good way to phrase it, then I do genuinely believe you'll be in a much, much better position, as opposed to, trying to, take over the whole world and etc., through wealth and power and fame, which is not aligned to God. Now, of course, God can, bestow wealth and power onto people or onto their lives. I don't disagree with that. So can the enemy, by the way. In the different religions, if it's the enemy or the forces of darkness, let's say, are it's categorized into different ways. Now, I accept that people believe slightly different things, that's absolutely fine. But I think broadly everyone would, agree that there is good and evil in the world, including the spiritual good and the spiritual evil. And, if you can just try and align yourself with the spiritual good and, with God and follow your heart, as we mature with age, we get to learn and know what's right and wrong, or what's morally wrong, what's morally right, that type of thing. And if you can just position yourself, just set this camera down here again so I'm not shaking around with it because I haven't got a tripod with me today. So if you can kind of position yourself and align yourself in that way, align yourself with the laws of heaven, align yourself with God's biblical word, I appreciate people who can believe different things, then you'll be much better off, God rewards people who seek him, says that in the Bible, my experience is that, since I've believed in God and stuff, which has been over a number of years, it's a gradual journey, some things happen bit more radically, a bit more quickly, but the actual journey from who we were to who we are now, it's a gradual process. We live, we learn, we refine our faith and so on. So these things don't happen overnight, but my life's completely changed, in terms of how well I'm doing now versus how well I was doing sort of 20 years ago, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, these things are well grounded. They've been written about for hundreds of thousands of years. It's not something that's coming from my mouth. It's something many people have reported, all walks of life, right across the world, many different countries. It's not anything new in that sense. It's not something I'm announcing to you today, which is new. It's just that, as I said, because of a modern day world and social media and technology, and everyone wants to be kind of fulfilling their desires in a way which perhaps doesn't always align with God or God's ways. We're always trying to fulfill our own desires, whether it's through careers or relationships or whatever it is. It's going to be different in every case. But if you can just try and embrace humility and spend a bit of time, certainly once a week, a couple of times a week is even better, just praying to God, reading out of the Holy Book, you're going to find that God is going to honour that. God definitely sees that, by the way, even though it's beyond our understanding. But in the same way that modern day satellites can see kind of meteorological events and weather fronts moving across the, if there's a cyclone, they know it's coming, or there's a tornado, they know it's, likely to happen or whatever. So in the same way, God can see what we're up to. Obviously not via a satellite, but there's some kind of divine, supernatural ability that God has to peer into this world to see what we're up to at any time of day or night, whether we're aware of it or not. So he does definitely see what we do, whether it's good or bad, whether we're trying to pursue our own wealth and glory, or whether we're trying to show humility and honour God and do the right things, even if it comes at a personal cost to us. God definitely does see that. Let's walk around this church a little bit more. I don't want it to be all me talking, so it's beautiful, isn't it? Look at the roof there, and the stained glass windows are absolutely beautiful. I say, on many of these church visits I do, I find that the places are absolutely empty. I just think, in a lot of these communities, especially this one, it just feels kind of abandoned, which is, it's a shame, So there's the book and mounted on the Holy Spirit, altar type thing. Not a soul here. Lovely place to come if you just want to sit down and pray, have a bit of space and a bit of a quiet time with God, because, maybe it's not the same sitting in your own living room or lounge or bedroom or whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe we hold services here once a month or something. I've never seen anybody here, to be honest. So yeah, light shining through there, and I say apologies, I haven't got a tripod with me. Look at the roof there. So yeah, it's very beautiful. That's quite nice, isn't it? The light coming through the window. Yeah, so I'm going to keep this video short. I've kind of got across the core message that I wanted to say today with no notes in front of me or anything. But just, find a bit of time. Don't prioritize wealth and fame and social media stardom and, bigger houses, faster cars, performance cars, because these things are all passing away, you see. A lot of people don't realize it. It's almost like a veil. It's been hidden from them. So they just think, life is temporary, life is short, let's do what we want now and have fun and get as many social experiences as we can. But we just bury under the hatchet any kind of spiritual existence. And as I said, it's a strategic mistake. I mean, I had some experiences a number of years ago. That's how I became aware of it. I'll save that for another video, but these things do definitely exist. So just try and align yourself with that, and just maybe just wind things in a bit, be a bit more humble, show a bit more humility, and God's going to see that, God's going to respect that, and God's going to honor that. So thank you very much for listening, stroke watching. I hope to see you on the next video, whatever that is. I'm a bit busy at the moment, but I do try and make videos for this channel, and I'll continue to do so. So God bless, take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.